Thank you, Dr. Gore. It was very, very inspiring. I think you turned it really well. So my job is less difficult. Otherwise, if I would have been in the last session, it would be really difficult. Actually, just to complete or elaborate a bit on my introduction, of course, I don't have the fancy MBA or whatever, but I come from a traditional Marwadi Jain family. I grew up in Bombay. I started to work with my dad at the age of 16. I spent a lot of my time, few of you know here, in Kalba Devi, in MJ Market, in CB Tang, in Cotton Exchange. So actually I learned my business there. Then I said that, okay, I cannot go to the corporate world unless I have a degree. So yeah, my dad said, fine, do engineering. And I went to engineering. But I can say that I learned business there. So Samir, if you think that I have business wisdom, thanks to my days in Kalba Devi where I learned all this. Also, I am the first generation in service. In my family, I am the first generation in service. And before that, I have all my life seen what you guys are today. So maybe when I was here yesterday, I made my presentation. Then I thought, okay, I'm too technical. Let me also use my experience of working in a family business and then coming on to the corporate world and see how can I make connections there. What can I learn from my dad's business? Because exactly it was in textiles, it is in textiles. Flourishing, doing very well. But he also went through a rough phase. And I think I can reflect on those experiences which I learned from there. So after I did my engineering, I started to work for Bright Brothers actually. So I wanted to start a molding business. I thought Bright was the best company to work for to start molding business. I worked 2.5 years in Bright. Then I came to DSM. I said, okay, let's work in a multinational company. Let's see what they do. And maybe then I come back. But yeah, that affair has now been for 15 years. And it doesn't look like I'm going to come back. So, and after I joined DSM, I spent 7 years in China. So after 6 years in Bangalore, I spent 7 years in Shanghai. I was based out of there. I was responsible for automotive, for Asia. So spent a lot of time in Japan, Korea, China, of course. Was sitting in China. After automotive, I spent on LED lighting. DSM has a good presence there. I was the marketing or the product manager for that. And then, my wife said, "Bahut ho gaya China. Kids are growing up. We need to move back." And I moved back to India in July 2011. So that's my, an elaborate introduction, but I thought it's important from what I'm going to say for you to understand where I come from. Now, before I start my presentation, and also Dr. Gore said, I think if I look as a first generation in service, I think what you guys do is an amazing job, because what you do is create employment. And I think that is one of the most noble work. I have met social entrepreneurs. I have met people who have left cushy jobs in multinational companies to start companies on their own and create employment. So I think I would like to start with a big applause to all of you. So I would like to start here. I have problems in standing one place, so I'll keep moving around. But I will start my kite flying. Prakash Iyer is not there. But if you can notice, this is a Chinese kite. I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about DSM, not because they allowed me to come here. I think why I talk about DSM is I can reflect from a family business to a multinational business, what DSM did and what can we all learn from that. Because even the transformation of DSM is a Harvard business case today. And I have seen that for 15 years. Maybe I can reflect a bit on it. So that's the first part. Then we talk about looking into industry trends. What do I see? I spend a lot of time in automotive, electrical, electronics, packaging. flexible packaging. So I'll reflect a bit on that. And then I would try to make a connection. What I see is the opportunity for the plastic industry, processing industry. So 3 things. Let me start with DSM. Let me start with what we learned from Prakash yesterday. Let me start with what mountain do we climb? What mountain do we climb every day? What mountain do we climb inch by inch every day across 90 nations in the world, across 23,500 employees? This is what we live for. So our purpose is to create better lives for generation today and for the upcoming generations. Now, some of you might be having 2 machines, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. But a mission, everybody, it is important. It's such a powerful thing to create why, purpose. I think Mr. Seth also said yesterday, you need to define the purpose. Why does your company exist? And you might be a one-man company with few employees and workers, but it is important to let them know what house they are building, not just that they are just placing 1 brick every day. You need to let them know what house they are breaking. We started this mission in 2000. The mission only came into picture in 2010. This was one of the most clear, crisp mission I saw in last 15 years at DSM. And I can tell you, the positive impact it had on our employees was amazing. DSM, globally, we measure our employee engagement, as we call it. And we benchmark our employee engagement against the best in the industry. Within 3, and this assessment is done every year. We started in 2011, we are in 2013 now. Our employment engagement score, as we call it, is more than 72%. So more than 72% people in the company I feel inspired to work for this company. So a simple statement, clearly thought, can make such a powerful impact. How many of you, or I would say, let me not get negative, but turn it around. Think about what purpose your company exists also, and communicate to your employees, whether it's 5, 10, 50, or 500 employees you have in the company. Make it crisp, clear, simple, communicate it. I can tell you it creates a lot of positive generations from that. I like the story with what Anil said about the Chipkali. Yeah? DSM started in 1902. We started as a coal mining company from Holland, a Dutch company. Yeah, how much? Holland is a small country, less than the size of Haryana. How much can you mine coal? So it would get over. So after 20, 30 years, it got over. Then they said, okay, what is the next thing? Yeah, that was the period of ammonia, fertilizers, petrochemicals. They moved into petrochemicals. That's where our benzene ring comes from. You know, we are a chemicals company, so that's where you can see DSM and the benzene ring. And then they said that, okay, what next? Asia was coming. Yeah, we used to make polypropylene, polyethylene. Reliance was coming. Sabik was coming. DSM said, yeah, we had that time, that was I think 1995, 98 when I joined the company, 2.5 billion euros. 2.5 billion euros of polypropylene, polyethylene. Our CEO got up and said, we need to sell this. The company's turnover at that time was 7 billion. 7 billion, 2.5 billion euro. Mr. Shivanandan yesterday talked about courage. This is about courage in business. The CEO got up and said, I mean, I was a plastic guy. I said, are you mad? No. I mean, of course, I did not talk to him. I was too much junior. But many of us thought in plastic business, are we crazy? Are we selling polypropylene, polyethylene? You know, we make engineering plastics, we make polypropylene, polyethylene, we make ABS. Complete portfolio. Fantastic business. You know, a sales guy in front of me, like me, when I was a sales guy, this would be excellent business to be in. But the chairman said, no, this is not our future. We selected a rabbit, or he selected a rabbit, we executed it. So he selected the rabbit, which Mr. Prakash Iyer said. And many times, yeah, there were a lot of distractions. There were a lot of distractions, like the polypropylene profitability was still good, but he said, no, we need to sell this business. We need to find the right price. This is the right time to exit the business. We encash on it and we leave the business. This business is going to move to Asia. There are a lot of new companies coming in Asia. Polypropylene, polyethylene consumption in Europe is going down. I don't see future. We solved that. We sold it. And over the years, We sold that, we got a lot of money. Of course, we have to do something with that money because we cannot be a 3-4 billion company. We have to show growth, top line, bottom line. Shareholders are expecting from us. So DSM, so he said, the future is of health, well-being. We need to enter nutrition. We need to enter pharma business. And he took that money, he bought Just Brocadis. In India, many of you know as Hindustan Max. Hindustan Max, GB. GB was Just Brocadis. DSM bought that business globally for 3 billion euros way back in 2000. We plastics guy we had no understanding. What are we doing, Selling plastics, buying pharma business. We don't know anything about the business. Anyway, let me, this was our portfolio in 95. You see all the gray block? Petrochemicals, engineering plastics products, base chemicals, others. DSM said we want to be a specialty company. All this gray block has to go out. Today we have employees, 23,500 employees. 15,000 worked in that business. Many of them second generation working for the company. Tough decision, courage. Said we lose this business. We sold off that businesses, and today you see, this is updated as of last week. This presentation, this slide was used in our Capital Markets Day last Friday. And you see here, the gray block is now a small layer. That business is off to sale. It will happen in next 3 months' time. And the business has completely moved to nutrition and material sciences. Turnover remaining same for the last 10 years, 7 years, but profitability doubled in the last 7 years. So now I want to make connection with what my dad did in the family business. I said we had a rough past. My dad used to make cotton saris. And 20 years back, cotton was still a poor man's cloth. And he kept on doing it, business started to go down, but he started the business. He started the business straight out of college, very much attached, emotionally attached to the business. He couldn't see what was coming, and he couldn't let go what he was doing. And he couldn't let go what he was doing. He says, I earned all my money on this business. How can I let it go? So he kept on doing it. I lost interest. I said, Dad, if this is going to be the business, then I cannot. I will move out. So I started to do my own thing. And finally he gave it up. But it was too late. But my brother came in, my younger brother came in, who manages the business. He saw a different side of the business. He said, we need to close down. Finally, my dad said, yes, we need to close down. He came to a point where he decided we close down. I think he was a bit late, but nevertheless, it happened. My brother came in. He moved to shirting. The whole ready-made boom was happening in India. I think none of us stitch our clothes, and now everything is ready-made. He made good business out of it, doing well. But sometimes in business, and many of you would have those situations, I like what Akhilesh said. It is important to see where are you today? What is your external environment? And even if it's your own baby, you need to let it go sometimes. Some of you are forced into it. But I think the visionaries or the leaders are one who knowingly get out of it. So I want you to reflect on that. The other thing is about strategy. At DSM, what we do is we have a very structured strategy review process. We call it CSD. It's called Corporate Strategic Dialogue. Every 5 years, they assess where are we today, what is our environment, where am I going to be, and what are the steps I want to go there. Every 5 years, structured like a 5-year plan. So we still joke about it that we are a democratic, but we are still socialist in our thinking. Every 5 years, religiously, what are we going to do, where is our situation, and what needs to be done. So the petrochemicals cutting off came out from the CSD of 1995, that we need to get out of all commodity businesses, move into specialty. 2010 we said, we are the company what we want to be. There is some small gray layer which will go out, but we are the company what we want to be. And then the board said, fine. Now we have the portfolio, We have some acquisitions. We have a big business in life science. So today DSM makes vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, a company which was making ammonia, fertilizers, chemicals, polypropylene, polyethylene, now is one of the world's largest producer of vitamin D, omega-3, and all of you know the huge opportunities which are coming in the health sector. So what the board realized, there are three big things happening in our society, in our environment. Health and wellness, climate and energy, a lot of concerns on global warming, blah, blah, blah. Global shift, moving out of Europe, moving out of the West, moving into Asia. So these are the three big society trends, as we call it. And we are here, life science, material science, and we said we want 4 areas where we'll go to. So businesses in life science and material science, if you are not into India, you are not into China, you are not into Russia, the BRICS, or high growth economies, Indonesia, if you are not there, go there, set up businesses, put people. Don't worry about returns at this point of time. Go and set up offices. Put manufacturing bases. Innovation. 90% of what you spend on R&D has to be on new ideas. You won't get approval in your, we spend 5% of our turnover. We have a turnover now of 9 billion euro. We spend 5% of our turnover. So almost €500 million worldwide on R&D. 90% has to be going into innovation. Only 10% for maintenance. And this is we call it is the iron bar. There is no discussion on this. If you cannot justify that the program I'm doing is innovation, you don't get money. Simple as that. There is no discussion about it. The rule has been set. Same thing with sustainability. If it is not on ideas which are sustainable in the sense reducing eco footprint or recycling or reducing the carbon footprint, that 75% of that, you're not allowed to work on that. It has to be minimum 75% of your spend on sustainability. And last but not the least, you're allowed to acquire in partnership in these 2 businesses you have. You can imagine 9 billion company, 23,500 people, 8 large businesses. The business I work for, engineering plastics, is 1.2 billion euros. All this has to be followed all across and no discussion on this. This is the shareholder. We call the board as the shareholder. They give us money to do the business. This is an iron curtain. You have to follow this. First, the strategy, absolutely clear. And second thing is non-negotiable. No discussion on this. Think about it. I mean, how many times, or take time off to, as we call it, put your foot on the table and think, what do I want to be? Where do I want to go? What rabbit I want to follow? And once you have decided that rabbit, no matter you get brown, pink, red, whatever was said yesterday, we also selected our rabbit and we went for it. Yeah, I already talked about this. Okay, so engineering plastics business, the business I manage for India. So what do? We are primarily focused in semi-crystalline materials. We don't do polycarbonate, we don't do clear materials. We are only in semi-crystalline materials, polyamide, PBT. Top 2 in polyamide 6. Global leader in high temperature polyamides. Our brand PA46 Stenil is one of the most widely used high temperature polyamides. Yeah, I said 1.3 billion euros, part of Royal DSM, 9.2 billion euros, 110 years in business. I'll skip this. These are some of our brands. I met Mr. Prasad here, who was one of the very early, who actually sold Arnite in 1982 when it didn't even belong to DSM. It was Exoplastics then. Yeah, this is our beautiful plant in Pune, one of the world's best engineering plastics plant, put up in 2008. We started in 2008 in a downturn, but we said, yeah, we decide for long term. It's in Ranjangaon, close to where I sit. And again here, I did not talk about the sustainability part of it. One thing very clear here as well, no compromise on any safety or pollution related issues. This is a zero effluent plant. Okay, plastics are in less polluting, but even the water which we use for cooling our polymers is being treated and recycled and used for gardening in the plant. So this is a zero effluent plant. We've got two safety awards, one the DSM award, and one is the OSH award, which is a huge organization on safety and occupational safety and hazards. So let me talk about the technical part now. And so let's zoom into look at major trends in the industry segments we are spending time on. So we'll talk about automotive, three things again: automotive, electrical, electronics, and packaging. Yeah, let's start with automotive. I need to call on Vidya Balan again. Automotive is about reduction. So it's about reduction in fuel consumption, reduction in emission, and reduction in cost, system cost, as I would call it. So overall, from a very high, as we call it, 50,000 feet level, this is what's driving the automotive industry. Let's go down to 20,000 feet level. What does this mean? Rather not getting too technical, one thing big is happening is downsizing. You have a Ford EcoSport which comes at 1.5 liter engine. Earlier the same car would be more than a 2 liter engine. This is helped by turbocharging, which is what I've highlighted in red. Big focus on weight reduction, and plastic industry has generally contributed to it, hugely contributed to it, and it will continue. There are some new technologies coming where we'll further increase the penetration of plastic. So Dr. Gore, fully in line with your consumption theory, it will go up in the coming days. We see a small dip in the automotive industry now, 2011-12, but there also, if you would see, the automotive industry today in terms of revenue is better than ever before. In terms of profitability, Maruti, Tata, if you take two of them, okay, Tata is helped by JLR, and Maruti, because of yen and other situations, are having a good time. And there also, one good lesson in downturn is niche. Two things helping them. Alto 800 is no more the preferred entry car. Maruti Suzuki Swift sells in some months even more than Alto 800. So it's not about the cheapest or the lowest car. Nano today sells less than 2,000 per month. And Suzuki Swift, which is a 4.5, 5 lakhs car, sells more, 20,000, 25,000 per month. Second thing is rural economy. That's driving. The downturn has forced auto companies to look inwards into India because, we had a very good monsoon, or except for the last year, the agriculture economy has been strong. So the automobile industry, the downturn has forced them to reconsider what is their customer base. And they have moved focus out from urban customers to the rural market. And I'm sure we can also do the same thing in our business if you look deep into it. So remember about turbocharging and about a lower weight. We'll come back to again when we focus on the industry. Again, this is too technical, but I try to make it very simple. I put all the automotive technologies, whether they are in development phase, introduction, growth, or saturation. Typically, if I'm looking into the future, I would not like to spend time on saturation stuff. And if I am forced to innovate, then I only look at the left corner, or the left two sides, which is development and introduction. Take time to also think in your business, where are you on this curve? If you are on the right and top in your business, if you are on the right and top, then the strategy is completely different. Then you need to talk about process efficiency, you need to talk about cost optimization. If you're on the left side of the business, then it's about innovation, having capable manpower, investing in technology. So you have different strategies, and nothing is bad. You can be on top of it and still making a lot of money. It's only about your perspective towards that business has to change. Now, what next? And that can only be helped by composites. So I'll talk briefly about that. The second big thing is still a lot of metal replacement happening, but into more demanding applications. You are moving inside the engine, inside the transmission, on chassis components. And in the growth phase, especially which I see on India, is because of this downsizing trend, we will have an increased penetration of turbocharged engines. And that opens up a lot of good opportunities for the plastic industry. Electrical electronics. Oh yeah, I was surprised to see the number, 4 lakh phones daily. 4 lakh phones daily. Yeah, India has now a subscriber base of 800 to 900 million population. But what is not happening is the component manufacturing. I was reading the National Electronic Mission Policy. I'm sure some of you have noticed. In 2020, if India does not start manufacturing electronics in India, electronics imports will be bigger than crude. Can you imagine that? Bigger imports in India of electronics than crude, because we just make the phone covers top and bottom, but the PCBA, the PCBB, the components, the rectifiers, nothing in India. That's a big opportunity. And earlier people said, yeah, India does not have scale, China has scale. I mean, I stayed in China. When I went to China in 2005, RMB was 5 rupees to the Indian rupee. 1 RMB, 5 rupees. Now 1 RMB, how much? Manish bhai? 10 rupees, as of yesterday, 10 rupees, 15 paisa. Is China still competitive? When I talk to my colleagues in China, they ask me what's happening in India. They are worried about what's India going to do. And when I talk to people in India, they are more about, China sasta hai, China sasta. Come on, the salary I have seen with my own people who work for me. I mean, huge appreciation. The labor in our plant in Jiangyin, which is around 120 kilometers from Shanghai, people are moving inside, because on the whole coastal area, the wages are so high that they are moving inside now. They have a strategy called Go West, and Go West is Chengdu. So, and we are still worried about China here. And they are worried about Indians. You guys did fantastic job in software industry. You did fantastic job in pharma. I mean, today, can anybody tell me one big pharma company from China? Exactly. But if you talk about APAs, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, China is a big player. Or APIs, China is a big player. But outside, okay, Ranbaxy now for bad reasons, but Ranbaxys, Dr. Reddy's of this world are known even to foreign doctors. I've met doctors in Shanghai who came from US, who came from Singapore. They said, yeah, we know Indian pharma industries, we know Ranbaxy, we know Dr. Reddy. I mean, it makes me as an Indian so proud. In China, somebody tells me that, hey, you guys have did a fantastic job in pharma. Do they have the same issues on corruption? Do they have the same issues on infrastructure? Do they have the same issues on power? Yes, of course. But what did they do different? What can we learn from them? Something to think. So if we talk about electronics, what's driving electronics? First, miniaturization. I mean, phones are getting smaller, though the screens are increasing, but technically in the sense the amount of features they are adding, they are becoming smaller. There is no antenna in phone today. I'm sure all of you have noticed. Where is the antenna gone? I'll tell you where it has gone when I talk about processing industry, because the plastic industry has been the reason behind the antenna is gone. And it was not the mobile phone makers who thought about it, the plastic industry thought about it. So the electronics part of it is miniaturization. Second thing is high speed. Yeah, you're talking about 3G, 4G, you're talking about everything coming together, video, audio. So the data demands are increasing on the phones. So that's the second big driver. The third big thing is, which I worry about also as a person who follows technology, is the e-waste. Imagine 800, 900 million phones. Average life of phone, 2 years. In this crowd here, maybe in rural areas, 4 years. When we throw this phone, there is lead, that's solder paste. How are we going to recycle all this? Where is this going to go? The government is worried. They are forming an e-waste policy, but that is a big concern driving all the hazardous substances which are used. That is a big concern which is in the industry. What can we do from plastics perspective? Okay, thank you. So that's where the industry is looking at. Yeah. The other thing which is in the mobile phone industry or the electronics in general is the speed of innovation. If you take 3 months to make a tool, you're out of electronics business. In 4 months, they make a mobile phone. From concept to delivery, 4 months. The best companies do it in 4 months. The not so good companies do in 6 months. But nobody does in more than 6 months. So imagine a mobile phone, so many components, housing, everything done, launched in 4 months. So if you have to make mobile phones, 800, 900 million mobile phones in India, then I think we need to get used to this speed. When we were in Europe, we were doing the polycarbonate business. And we sold off that business 3 years back. Not part of our core business. Ericsson was one of our big customers. The Ericsson color matching, imagine in Europe, we are not sitting in China, in Europe, color match from Ericsson has to be done in 4 hours on a compounding machine. So we had a lab extruder fully dedicated on color. They would send us electronically, this is LAB value, this is how does it look. We have to, within 4 hours, supply the material back. Otherwise you're out of business. And we will get, before development, we might get 20 such requests. Finally they decide 2 colors and then we used to start making. But you have to get used to that speed. Electronics will not happen in India unless we are able to match the speed, the clock speed of the electronics industry. That's where China scores because of the speed element. They are not cheap, but they have organized themselves in such a way that they can live up to the speed of the industry needs, the end user needs. Yeah, we talked about miniaturization, we talked about sustainability angle, the e-waste. If you look at three end use applications, connectors, that's for us, engineering plastics business, that's a big business for us. And it's not in polypropylene, polyethylene. It is in LCPs, it's in high temperature polyamides. You're talking about materials which are $10, $15 per kilo. If those things comes to India, the whole value chain benefits out of it. Because there it's not about Reliance ne 2 rupees upar kam kiya badhaya. It's clearly about speed, it's about how fast you can do tooling, how reliable you are. And there is no discussion about what is the material price. Of course, in the end it is, but it is not the dominating discussion. Same thing in power distribution. Still in India, some of you are here who work with a lot of power distribution companies. Still in India, a lot of thermosets are used. 3 weeks back, I was in Baroda, we signed an NDA, we signed a joint development agreement with ERDA, Electrical Research Development Association, where we said, okay, companies like large low voltage switchgear companies are still very thermoset image. We know how to do it, but we need somebody who has the knowledge of the electrical industry. So we found ERDA as a partner where we can work with, and we have this agreement signed now. We have identified 5 such parts which are in thermoset today, can be moved to thermoplastics, and a complete solution. So DSM invests in tools, we supply material, we make tools, we supply components, we make a complete MCB or an MCCP. It goes for testing, and then we can go to our customers with a complete solution. The other thing what we do often is doing things on our own. But together, and we call it open innovation, together with ERDA, yes, they have their business interest. Yes, of course, I have my business interest. But if I'm alone, I can only have my business interest and no business. Joining hands. And I would say Chinese do it very good. Chinese do it very smartly. You won't even come to know how do they do it. I was handling automotive, and one of the big engine parts is a chain tensioner. I happened to, so I said that, hey, Chinese market 10 million cars. We are not selling into the Chinese OEMs, tier ones. Let's go. So we talked to a molder, and he said that, hey, we have this material. He says, okay, I can do this. Actually, I'm already doing this. Okay. I said, where do you get the metal components? And he did not know that I can understand a bit of Chinese since I stayed there for so many years, and I learned the language. So further, when I discussed it, found out that he had made a complete brochure of a chain tensioner, but actually there were 7 companies behind who were supporting him. And he would tell you that, hey, he's my cousin, he's this, that, but these were all different companies. And any of these 7 companies you go to, they'll have the same brochure, they'll give it to you, and if you buy from them, he will get business for other 6 guys as well. They team up so smartly. And that's also the reason why they can deliver on time, on high speed, because they'll make sure they have the right connections, that if such demands come, they can spread themselves very fast. So smart things to do. I mean, sometimes I look back, China got exposed to the outside world only 15, 20 years back. I mean, the English language skills, many of you travel to China, is well known. I mean, one of the best speakers of English in the world, in number of people speaking English, I think we are the highest. In terms of intellectual, I would say we are equal to Chinese or maybe slightly better. But then, why have we not done this? What have we missed? And I can tell you it's not government. It's not government. Yes, if they were with us, we would have been even at least better than today, but that would have not been the only reason. That would have not been the only reason. Talk to Chinese people. They are scared about what what India is going to do then. They are worried now that, yeah, with the depreciation of the rupee, India is getting more competitive. So that was electrical electronics. Let me come to flexible food packaging. And somebody mentioned earlier here that, yeah, we are using more urbanization. Good point of it. We are getting into a lot of food which we want to, the changing trend in the society is more packaged foods. And it is not simple packaged food. We are not talking about simple polypropylene, polyethylene things here. Just to give you an example, we are working with a mushroom association. If you use a multi-layer thermoplastic elastomer tri-layer, so it's a material supplied by DSM called as Untitled. Some of you may use Untitled. It is not a $4 or $5 material. It is much more expensive than that. If you use a multi-layer packaging in mushroom, just for the top of the punnet, the life of mushroom grows from 4 days to 8 days. From 4 days to 8 days. And what does that mean? If you look at that industry, if you cannot sell that in 4 days, what they do is, they do what you call it as they bottle it. They put it in a solution and they bottle it, and that sells at half the price of a fresh mushroom. Actually, in India, there is no market, it's only exports. So whatever they get saved, they put it in a bottle, they put it in a solution and send it out. But if he can improve this 7 hours, then his distance to cater the market increases because there is a travel time involved. He can go further. I met one company, they supply by air to some customers because 4 days is the lead time. He says, okay, now I don't need to go by air, I can go by road because I have 3 days extra and I can pay you 2 times what I pay for this packaging today because he covers back in his chain. Akhilesh, I think he mentioned about finding niche. These are niches. These are the niches. But you have to make a conscious effort to understand your customers better, understand their needs better, and then you can tailor-made your solutions to it. And yeah, some of you might be sitting here and thinking, okay, yeah, I work for a multinational company, you have a lot of people, you can do that. मैं कैसे करूँगा? I don't have a straight answer for that. But I think if you think hard, I'm sure you can do something. Maybe not at the level we do, because we have a lot of R&D resources, blah, blah, blah. But I'm sure you can also do something at your level. Food, we segment into 3 areas. Food protection, fresh food. The biggest one developing is the functional food packaging. Now, what do I mean by functional packaging? Cheese market in India. Can anybody imagine how much amount of cheese is sold in India? Crores. कितने करोड़ का cheese बिकता है इंडिया में? Any guesses? 100 crore? 500? 500? 2,500. The cheese market in India is 2,500 crores. Yeah, we are eating a lot of pizzas. 2,500 crores, the cheese market growing at double digits. And there are packaging solutions that allow a certain amount of oxygen barrier to go in. So the cheese, while on its road, can ripen. That is functional packaging. Again, high value added, very niche, but if you go after it, you can get good money. It needs research, it needs some thinking, but some areas to address. So, since Archana was looking at the time, so I realized I need to move fast. So now coming to the last part, what opportunities for processing industry? I've already talked about it a lot, but I will only talk about 3 technologies. First is the composite side, we talked about it. So if you look on the left hand side, unreinforced, short fiber, long fiber can be done by normal injection molding, but the next future is, UD layers, mats, foams. It is not there today, no, but all the developments today, research is happening in that direction, and I think by the time it comes to India, it will be 3 years, but that will be the next phase of development for the plastic industry, and it will open up huge opportunities, whoever goes for it. Yes, it will require a bit of risk taking, it will require a technology tie-up, or it will require something you need to get out of your day-to-day business to get this done. But this is something definitely the future. Yeah, some of you more closer to the business or must have seen earlier presentations about, there are various options there, various technologies, UD tapes, foams, windings, and plastic material just being sort of a matrix, but all the strength is provided by these members. A lot of developments happening in this direction. Again, nobody is doing it alone. A lot of people, DSM, we are part of this N-Light program. So N-Light is to make engines lighter, N-Light, so which is a big development happening in Europe, where they have completely formed a park in Aachen, which is close to Holland, part of Germany, but close to Holland, where they have a complete technology park to develop only composites, where there are tier ones, raw material suppliers, and automotive companies taking share, and the whole industry trying to come up with a solution. And everybody's putting money now. If you're successful, sir, whole value chain benefits out of it. Win-win situation for everybody. If it loses, fine. Okay, we tried. Nahi hua, but kuch to hoga. If there are so many brains coming together, maybe it does not blow to the full 100%, but we'll get 50% out of it. But it's better than nothing, doing nothing on your own. I mean, the applications are huge. And not only in automotive, I mean, I also included some non-automotive, aerospace, even a simple thing as bicycle. As a simple thing as bicycle. Today still bicycle pipes, they move from iron to aluminum. You have high-end bikes which are on graphite, carbon. But can there be something in between? Still graphite, carbon cycles. I remember in China when I wanted to buy one, it was 10,000 RMB for a cycle. But that's a very high-end, very lightweight cycle. But is there some positioning in between? I talked about turbo. The biggest thing automotive happening is turbo now, earlier was only with diesel. Now turbo is moving to gasoline, to petrol cars because of downsizing demands, because of Euro emissions coming in. As soon as we have Bharat 4, Bharat 5, we have to move towards turbocharged gasoline. Today, a lot of these gasoline ducts are in stainless steel or rubber plus steel combination or rubber plus iron combination. The next big thing, what we see now, at least I see few tier ones entering India, 3D blow molding, where you can have complex shapes, and you can reduce half the weight of those traditional materials which are used. It is much more flexible. You can put sensors inside. You can integrate sensors. A A lot of things happening in that area. So that's one of the things. Also, when you have turbo, noise becomes an issue. I mean, you can see the parts at the bottom, they also have sound dampening also enclosed into it. This is how the antenna got out. This is how the antenna got out. So what they did is, they took a plastic and the whole antenna, they printed on the back of the phone. So today, the antennas are of course there, but it is in your back side of the phone. The back cover of your phone acts as the antenna for your phone. And what was done is something called as LSD, or also known as MID, molded interconnect devices, where you can put some chemicals inside in compounding, and when you after your molding, you just put a laser on it wherever the tracks you want, and you can deposit copper on that. So the whole circuit is on the back of a plastic, and you don't need a separate circuit carrier to get that done. And of course, plastics are good insulators. So you can put the entire your wiring. This is basically a low voltage wiring. This whole wiring on the back of a. This idea came out of plastic industry. This did not come out of the mobile phone industry. And today this idea has now been applied to many other components. You can see on the right hand side there are some rectifiers which are being developed. So the next wave of miniaturization in electronic components will be aided by plastics. So these are the three things I wanted to share. I want to summarize now. I like to put the picture of kids because I think it conveys two things. First is a lot of energy, smile, ready for change, and they will listen to you. I think moms here will agree that until the age of 5 or 7, they listen to you. After that, after 10, I think you lost your time. But the whole thing of what I want to say here is, take a conscious in it. It happens in many times as entrepreneurs. Since as I said, I came from that background, that we don't take time off to think what is the rabbit we want to go, what mountain we want to climb. We don't, like somebody said, main nahi hai to gir jayega sab. The idea should be, leadership is about making yourself redundant. That main nahi hu to bhi chal sakta hai. That is the leadership, or that is the company you need to believe, or company need to build. That even if you are not there, the show should go on. The second thing we talked about automotive, the huge trends on reduction. Then we talked about electrical electronics, big concern on e-waste, opportunity in miniaturization. We talked about packaging, functional packaging, high value, not polypropylene, not polyethylene, not PET, but high value functional packaging, niche area, and the retail boom as India develops. I think this will grow rapidly in the next 5 years. And we talked about 3 technologies. First, we talked about composites. We talked about 3D blow molding. And we talked about, what was the last one? Okay, we talked about MIDs. We talked about laser direct structuring. The composite was the first one. Yeah. Okay, so that was my small talk. And hope you got something out of it. And again, as entrepreneurs, you have inspired me. I hope I can also inspire you to think beyond what you're doing today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanjay, and I think it was a very, very inspiring session. 2 things which I would want to take away from here, most importantly. One is every company should have the corporate courage to probably disrupt themselves at one point of time, to only grow, and leaders should have the strength to change and pass on to the next generation for them to be the leader that they should be. I would want to call upon Mr. Shailesh Seth to present a small memento from all of us to Sanjay for being such a brilliant speaker, inspiring us and giving us such a lot of ideas. A round of applause for Sanjay, please.